So let's talk about the research proposal. You know, that document that can feel like just this huge, daunting task. But I promise, by the end of this, we're going to transform that blank page into a really clear, powerful blueprint for success. Oh man, we've all been there, right? Just staring at that blinking cursor on a totally empty screen. It can feel so overwhelming. But what if I told you the secret isn't having all the answers right away? It's about having the right framework to find them. So let's get into it. Okay, so the real key here is to just shift your whole perspective. Think about it this way. This questionnaire you're working with, it's not a test. It's not trying to catch you out. It's your architectural blueprint. It's what's going to help you design and build your entire argument piece by piece so you know it has a rock-solid foundation. And here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll craft that core argument. That's our foundation. Then we'll get into mastering the research, gathering all our materials. After that, it's all about sharpening your focus, framing the structure. Then we'll talk about connecting with your audience. And finally, we'll put on those finishing touches to finalize the proposal. Okay, so first things first, we have to talk about the foundation, your core argument. It is everything. It's what the entire project is built on. Seriously, if this part is shaky, the whole thing could just fall apart. So let's make sure we get this right from the get-go. So a strong thesis has like 5 key parts. And you're not just stating a fact here, right? You're actually building an argument. So you've got to identify a problem, propose a solution for a specific group of people, and this is super important. You have to engage with the other side. Acknowledging a counterargument and then explaining why it's not the full picture, that shows you've really thought this through and considered the whole landscape. Right. And this is the big question, isn't it? What are you adding to the conversation? Your research can't just be a book report, repeating what everyone else has already said. You've got to ask yourself, what new angle, what fresh piece of evidence am I bringing to the table here? That's how you make a real, original contribution. Okay, once you have that blueprint for your argument sketched out, it's time to move on to section 2. This is all about gathering your materials. We're in the research phase now, and it's where we find all the good stuff, the high-quality sources we need to actually build this thing. And just like you wouldn't build a house with only one type of material, you can't build a strong argument with just one type of source. You really need to diversify, cast a wide net. Look at books, sure, but also peer-reviewed journals, government reports, even personal interviews. Each one of these adds a different kind of strength, a different texture to your argument. Now, this is a pro tip. Finding the right materials starts with using the right keywords. And a small change here can make a huge difference. If you just search for something vague like social media, you're going to be buried under a mountain of stuff you can't use. But look at this example. Getting super specific is like using a powerful magnet to pull out exactly the sources you need. It saves so much time. And of course, not all sources are created equal. You have to be a bit of a quality inspector here. Ask yourself, is this source current? Is the author actually an expert on this topic? Has it been peer-reviewed or properly vetted? Answering these questions makes sure your project is built with only the strongest, most reliable information out there. A good, honest builder looks at all the materials, not just the ones that are easy to work with. And you need to do the same thing. You have to actively look for evidence that supports your idea, for sure, but you also have to look for evidence that challenges it. And trust me, acknowledging that opposing evidence doesn't make your argument weaker. It actually makes it stronger. It shows your ideas can stand up to a real challenge. All right, so we've gathered our materials. Now it's time for section 3. This is where we stop piling things up and start actually framing the structure. We're going to take that big, broad topic and really narrow it down into something sharp, sturdy, and totally manageable. And the research you've already done, that's your guide. As you're reading through everything, you'll start to see a pattern. You'll see who is really being affected by the problem you're looking at. So you use that evidence to narrow your scope. You go from this huge, vague issue to a very specific problem that's impacting a very specific group of people. And that's what makes your argument so much more powerful. So personal interviews can be pure gold. I mean, they're one of your most valuable sources. But there's a catch, and it's called confirmation bias. It's that sneaky little habit we all have of hearing what we want to hear, of looking for answers that just confirm what we already think. So the big question is, how do you do an interview that gets to the real truth, instead of just reinforcing your own biases? Well, the biggest thing is to just shift your mindset. Don't ask yes or no questions. Instead, ask really open-ended questions that get people telling stories, giving you details. Remember, your goal here is not to lead them to your conclusion. Your goal is to learn. So listen more than you talk and actually listen for the stuff that surprises you, the stuff that challenges what you thought you knew. That's usually where the best insights are hiding. Okay, on to section 4. A building isn't really complete until you think about who's going to live in it. The same goes for your argument. Who is this for? Who's going to inhabit this intellectual space you're building? Your entire argument has to be designed with your audience in mind. And honestly, this might be the single most important question you answer in this whole process. Why should anyone care about this problem? You could have the most logical, well-researched, brilliant argument in the world, but if you can't answer that question, it's just not going to land. It won't have any impact. You absolutely have to connect your topic to the real world, to what matters to people today. And when we say people, that's pretty broad. So let's get specific. Think about the stakeholders. Who has a real vested interest in this? Is it the people directly affected? Is it policymakers, industry leaders, other academics? Or maybe it's just the general public. Figuring out who your stakeholders are is crucial because it helps you tailor your message for each group. Something else that's super helpful is to figure out if your goal is to convince or to persuade. They sound similar, but there's a key difference. Convincing is all about logic, facts, and data. Persuading, on the other hand, uses all that logic, but it also connects with people's emotions, their values, and their beliefs. Knowing which one you're aiming for really shapes how you're going to present your entire argument. All right, we are so close. The structure is built, it's designed. Now it's time for the finishing touches. This final section is all about the presentation. It's about making sure all that hard work you've put in looks professional and is submitted correctly. Look, you've done all this incredible work. The last thing you want is for a simple formatting mistake to distract from it. So just think of this checklist as the final coat of paint. Just follow it to the letter, typed, double-spaced, 12-point Times New Roman, 1-inch margins, you know the drill. It's such a simple way to make sure your work looks clean and professional. And that's it. That's our blueprint from start to finish. But remember, this whole thing, it's more than just an assignment. It's a real opportunity for you to dive deep into something you actually care about and add your voice to a really important conversation. So I'll leave you with this. What are you going to add? What's your contribution going to be?